Good evening. Good evening, everybody. We can start and we will close this session, this first day session, with two important ceremonies that we want to organize as usual. We started today in the best possible way. Our Prime Minister introduced this forum and it was very much interesting for all of us, and we have appreciated the interest, the commitment of our Prime Minister in participating to the forum, being with us, introducing a lot of extremely interesting arguments. This is a special occasion dedicated to the recognition and celebration of institutions and people who have distinguished themselves for their commitment in the field of natural and man-made risk reduction and for enhancing the resilience of communities and their population. The first appointment is with the winner of the Damir Cemerin Award, that in the framework of the forum organized by EFDRR nominates a person or an institution as a recipient of an award for the outstanding results achieved in the field of risk reduction. The Damir Cemerin Award for Local Challenge is named after Damir Cemerin, a founding member of the European Forum for Disaster Risk Reduction, who dedicated his life to disaster risk reduction in his home country of Croatia, as well as globally. The award, established in 2013, recognized the exceptional work performed by single individuals and organizations to make their community safer in terms of building resilience to disaster. Every year, the award focuses on a target posed by the Sendai framework. This year, the focus is on reducing the damage of economic losses caused by disaster. The award reminds us all that disasters are felt most at the local level, and then local actors are on the front line. That is the first one called to react. Now, after this brief introduction, it's my great pleasure and the honor to invite to the podium the head of the Italian Civil Protection, Mr. Angelo Borelli, to announce the award winner. Il podium.
Buonasera.
Good evening to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to take part in this ceremony for the Damir Cemerin Award. This year, the award is given to the GEM Foundation, the Global Earthquake Model Foundation, that has its headquarters in Pavia but works with many partners, institutional partners all over the world. It was created by the national and international experience of reduction of seismic risk. The foundation's goal is to develop technologies and methodologies in order to reduce the vulnerability of buildings and to reduce economic losses provoked by earthquakes. This topic concerns not only Italy but also all countries that, like ours, have seismogenic faults. Based on the experiences in this sector, the GEM Foundation, the Global Earthquake Model Foundation, established the aim to build a global network of partners, scientific partners, and national and local governmental partners that only together can respond to these kind of risks. Such risks are unpredictable and must be faced, especially on the plan, especially from the point of view of prevention. The Secretary General John Schneider is awarded.
Now would ask Her Excellency Mrs. Mami Mitsutori to hand over the certificate to the Secretary General of GEM Foundation, John Schneider. I would now ask Mr. George Snyder to share his remarks. Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
On behalf of GEM Foundation and all of its sponsors, partners, and collaborators worldwide, thank you for this great honor. Thanks especially to ISDR for the recognition and for global leadership in disaster risk reduction. Thank you also to the Italian Civil Protection for the extraordinary support that you have given to GEM for the past 10 years. Also to the 40 or so GEM sponsors and partners, both public and private, and the hundreds of GEM collaborators worldwide who have made this possible. The many thousands actually of users of the OpenQuake platform who are putting risk information to use. Thank you all for your collaboration, which has made today's honor possible. I would like to share with you the Global Earthquake Hazard Map and Global Risk Maps, which are being shown for the first time today. Fresh off the press. How do I show them now? Oh, they're up there. Okay, that's the Global Hazard Map. This map, in fact, I said this is a sneak preview of the maps that will be officially released just in 2 weeks on December the 5th in Pavia. They represent the culmination of 10 years of collaboration to create a single view of risk through the lens of a mosaic of models, developed at national to regional levels and assembled globally. This is the risk map with the maps that contribute to that. The maps were developed using a common methodology and implemented using a common modeling platform called OpenQuake. All of the information, the assumptions, models, and underlying maps will be made openly and publicly available. The risk maps show hazard, exposure, and risk. The risk map at the top shows economic risk globally, and the map to the lower left is actually a representation of the hazard map, which is combines the probability of shaking intensity from what we might consider all possible future earthquakes. The exposure, which is in the middle, is a combination of human population and buildings and their footprints globally. So a spatial distribution of the built environment and population around the world. The map to the far right is actually a map showing the human fatality that would result from those earthquakes, primarily from the potential collapse and near collapse of buildings. So the result is effectively a picture of the future based on today's understanding of risk. That said, the maps are not actually the most important part of what we do. They mark a point in time between the past and the future. The maps are the product of a process. They are a framework of collaboration. That framework combines public, private, and academic. It combines global to local collaboration. It combines the movement, the development of science, and its movement to application. The framework is also about open and accessible data that can be shared, maintained, and improved over time. It is about tools and information for capacity building. It is about building trust in and ownership of risk, which are essential to motivating action. So what does all of this contribute to Sendai and to the work that all of you are doing and in fact here today to discuss? This work provides a baseline estimate of risk, which can be complemented with loss data to monitor changes in vulnerability and exposure over time and over geographic scale. Models can be improved with local information to better understand risk. And the idea is that this is simply a vehicle for improving that risk. All of the information is there, the databases, the models, the tools, and they're there for others to change them, to modify them, to improve them. So we have shown economic loss and fatalities, which are 2 of the Sendai targets. We are also trying to inform the other 5. For instance, the number of affected people in terms of displaced people, homelessness, injuries, and lost income. These are things that can be modeled to some degree with tools as they advance over time. The impact on critical infrastructure, such as power, water, health, and education facilities, and the networks that those comprise can also be modeled and captured in the assessment of risk. This information can feed into disaster risk reduction strategies, also into building codes, many things that are actually happening today. We are also working with capacity building for developing countries and finally collaborating with other hazard communities to develop a holistic multi-hazard view of risk. So thank you very much for the honor and for your collaboration and support for GEM's mission to create a world resilient to earthquakes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schneider, and congratulations for this important award. Now, let us now proceed to the second official ceremony of this celebration. Among the initiatives launched by EFDRR within the Sendai framework, the Making Cities Resilient campaign is a global campaign which was launched in 2010. The Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction was adopted in 2015. The Sendai framework calls for increased engagement and prescribes additional responsibility to local authorities. The Making Cities Resilient campaign is a movement of cities and local government that support local and national governments, civil society organizations and business in their efforts to reduce the risk of disaster. It is active in over 100 countries and covers a population amounting to more than 1 billion people. The campaign currently supports more than 4,000 cities, and this year, 5 more cities will join this important campaign. I would now like to give the floor to the Director of Enel Foundation, Mr. Carlo Papa, who provides great support to the campaign. Mr. Papa.
Thank you very much. Just 2 minutes for saying that, in our opinion, disasters do not happen globally. They just happen locally. They affect real people. They affect real infrastructure, as my colleagues at the table knows very well, and my colleagues in the audience as well. This is the first important thing. The second rule that we have learned running main infrastructure from the Urals to the Andes, it's that there are no systems that withstand against climate hazard alone. So the system either stands together or falls together. And this is why we committed as Enel Foundation, it's actually a commitment of the entire Enel Group, to involve more cities in the campaign, because without local administrator, the system, the countries, the villages and the cities will not be resilient. And luckily, it's not only 5 cities, allow me to correct you. It's 5 cities in Italy, but I mean, the campaign is global and we are supporting the campaign globally. So more and more cities are joining. The certificate is a symbol and it's great. We have our leader of UN EFDRR granting the certificate directly, because it's a commitment that we are not talking about vaporware global reasoning, but we are talking about real people, real assets, and people to be protected. So very proud to be here. We will continue supporting the campaigns in any country analyze, and we will continue to believe that either we stand together or we will fall together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Papa, and we are very happy and proud that more and more Italian citizens join this campaign. Let me now give the floor to Mr. Borelli, the head of the Italian Civil Protection Department.
Sono molto lieto di potermi congratulare.
I am glad to express my congratulations to the mayors of the cities that signed the EFDRR protocol for resilience. Besides the congratulations and my wishes of good, fruitful work in this field, I am glad to invite the mayors, protagonists of this initiative, to follow the initiative of the Department of the Civil Protection to organize a huge universal civil service project with our youths, protagonists of actions and initiatives to disseminate the culture of civil protection, and in particular the culture of municipality plans of civil protection. I'm sure that if municipalities take part in this project, we will be able to build resilience in the entire country. To the Macedonian friend we have that signed this protocol, I asked him to be available to study together how to implement this line of involvement of new generations on the front of the reduction of risk from a European and international level. My congratulations.
Now I will once again please Her Excellency Mrs. Mami Mitsutori to hand over the certificate. Chiamerò uno per...
I will call all of the mayors one by one, the mayors that will receive the certificate. I would like to ask you to come by and take your certificate. After you receive the certificate, please do stay here in order to take a picture all together. The delegated councillor of the Amalfi municipality, Mr. Giorgio Stancati.
Pronto?
Delegate of Catania municipality, Mr. Alessandro Porto. Representative of the Rimini municipality, Ms. Anna Montini. Representative of the Tramonti municipality, Mr. Vincenzo Savino. The representative of Center Skopje, Mayor Mr. Sasha Bogdanovici.
Now we are over, and we would like to invite all of you to a relaxing moment that is a glass of wine or some water if you want to everybody in the foyer. This is offered by the Italian government. Thank you very much.